All right, so when I first heard that the theme of tonight's presentations was supposed to be your journey to Queens and beyond, it really made me think about that age-old interview question. Who here has ever been asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, who here has ever been able to confidently give an amazing answer to that question? Well, way to go. But I know that I usually just waffle around with some sort of answer because I know that in all likelihood, I'm not going to come up with anything that's accurate. Because how do I know this? Well, if I think about where I was 5 years ago today, I never thought that I would be standing up in front of you here with all these amazing people. So thank you for having me. But just in case I do get this interview question, let's think about where I was 5 years ago and maybe how I might be able to answer it going forward into the future. So 5 years ago, I was just coming out of the closet for the first time. Yes, I'm gay. And I felt like I was on top of the world. My friends were very accepting of me at that point in time, and I consider myself very lucky. Even my family was more supportive than I was anticipating. Everything seemed to be looking up, and I truthfully felt that nothing was ever going to stop me. Around that time as well, I was just applying to schools to go to university. And so I was very excited, but also very stressed out. So my friends invited me out to go to a party to blow off a little bit of steam. And I'd never been to a high school party before, so this was big. And it was a Halloween party. So of course I dressed up as Captain America, mostly because I have a huge crush on him. And everything seemed to be going great. I showed up, and the night began. And what I remember most distinctly about that party, though, was the air. And it wasn't just the alcohol on people's breaths or the cigarette smoke that like lightly stung my eyes when you walked through. It was a distinct coldness and heaviness that actually cut through the air when people had realized that I had come. And something was off. I could hear people whispering, I could see them staring, but awkward John just sort of shrugged it off and kept going throughout the night, and I left a little bit later on. A few days later, I was talking to a few of my colleagues who were also at the party, and they came up to me and they started to apologize. And I was very confused at that point in time, so I asked for clarification, and they said, John, the things that they were saying, they weren't right. And of course, that leaves me with more questions than answers. So I was like, whoa, what did they say? And they said, John, they were going to hurt you. They were chanting, burn the faggot. They were going to kill you that night. 5 years ago, I was at an all-time low. 5 years ago, I didn't think that there was much of a future to look forward to. And 5 years ago, I hit rock bottom. Now, what do you do when you're stripped of confidence and when you're stripped of safety and when you lose your ability to believe in yourself? I remember my heart was in my stomach, and I just drove myself home in silence. But later that evening, I was sitting in my room, and I was thinking about where I was at that point in time versus where I was a week ago. And there was such a discrepancy, and I wasn't happy with mellowing in the deep sorrows. Essentially, at that point in my room that night, I decided that I needed to take the critical step to bring myself back to where I was, and that I was going to be bold. And so what we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about is my journey and my key takeaways of what I did to rebuild my confidence and in order to master the art of being bold. So the first one is feel. So feel the pain. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to lash out every once in a while, because if you don't feel the pain and you bottle it up, it's going to eat you alive. So let it through. And find someone that validates how you feel, that helps you critically analyze how you're feeling at that point in time, what has caused it, and what this will do is allow you to become more self-aware and then control your emotions a little bit more going forward in a healthy way. But most people are pretty good at this phase, so I won't talk too much about it, but we'll go to the next one, which is grow. So, as my goddess Taylor Swift once said, you have to build castles out of the bricks that people throw at you. And so you can't let what people throw at you knock you down. Essentially, you need to find a way to learn, grow, and empower yourself from it. Now, you're like, oh, John, this sounds really idealistic, but it's actually quite possible. So I'll use my situation to tell you what I grew and what I learned from in that situation. So the first one is the quality of your support system is so much more important than the quantity of people in it. That you just need that one person to stand by your side to remind you every day that the battles that you fight are worth fighting because you are a person that is worth fighting for. Now, you need to find these people, you need to keep them, and you need to cherish them because they are the people that will support you throughout your entire process. And when you get the opportunity, be this person for someone else because you will be a transformative individual. All right, and the next one that we'll talk about is a little bit from Michelle Obama. So she said, when they go low, you go high. So what this meant for me was I didn't just go up to these people and start educating them about how being gay was okay, because that was not something that they were going to listen to. What I did is I took more of a powerful action at that point. I just continued to walk by them and hold my head high and show them that my pride was more dominant than their words. And so the key takeaway from that is that essentially you can tell people all you want, but sometimes there's absolutely no changing the way that people perceive the world or what people believe. Your actions will be able to speak more powerfully than your words in any situation. So now that we have been able to grow from the process, to understand that you need to surround yourself with a good support system and that you need to be as supportive of yourself and you need to do so in a very genuine, powerful way, what do? You have, hopefully, this bunch of energy left after all of that to begin to be able to leap. And that is the third step that I took. And so these leaps are easiest when you do it with something that you are confident about. Because at least for me, I did not have a lot of confidence at that point in time, but it was something that I was very passionate about that I was able to channel that energy into. And as you can probably tell from my story, it's more so inclusivity and egalitarianism. So I took that energy that I had and that passion in order to channel it back into the confidence to be able to take those leaps. And the thing is, they don't have to start off really big. Like just a few months ago, I won an award for queer leadership in business, and essentially I went up there to talk about how we don't celebrate enough diversity within the queer community and that we're only really celebrating cis white men in the process, but that was not something that I was doing right from the very start. I focused a lot more on going to school, focused on being able to talk to straight men again, being able to comfortably hold another man's hand in public and then just smile when someone else stares, feeling confident to leave my very small hometown of 3,000 people to come to Queens when only 10% of my graduating class ever left. These are the small steps that I was kind of making along the way. And what it did is it built up this bit of inertia because you kind of get a little bit of a high when you're doing these things, when you're taking these bold leaps. It gives you a bit of an adrenaline rush, even though sometimes the things that I was doing were just very menial tasks that anyone was doing. But for me, this was huge. And it excited me, and it pushed me more and more. And as Andrew alluded to, this led to me taking steps in terms of founding the LGBT Alliance here at Queens and convincing the Commerce Society to fund it a year after they de-ratified the only inclusive organization we had. This was taking the step to join Queens Women in Leadership after I had actually been told by many other people that it is not a man's seat at the table to get involved in those conversations, but truthfully it is. And even these bold leaps lead up to doing things like standing up in front of you all here today, telling that very deep personal story. So I don't know exactly where I will be in 5 years' time from now, but I do know that I'll continue to feel, to grow, and to leap exactly where I'm supposed to be. Thank you.